since the arrival of George Allen 3 years ago. To succeed, they had to defeat the Philadelphia Eagles and former Allen disciple Roman Gabriel, number 5. Nearing the end of a phenomenal first season in Philadelphia, Gabriel entered the game as the league's leading passer, and not surprisingly, he chose to attack the Redskins by going up top through the snowflakes. The targets he sought out were, to say the least, inviting. 6'7" Harold Carmichael continued to strike terror into the hearts of undersized cornerbacks. Then Gabriel honed in on 6'5" rookie sensation Charlie Young with another perfect spiral. Young's TD catch gave the Eagles a quick 10-point advantage and left matters squarely up to the dead-end kids of the Redskin offense. Bill Kilmer, Larry Brown, and the Redskin offensive line had found rough sledding in '73 as they entered the game ranking 25th in the league in total rushing yardage. But now, with the season on the line, the ground-gobbling machine reappeared. The line tore open huge holes, and Larry Brown barreled through for his first 100-yard rushing day of the season. With the Eagle interior properly softened up, Kilmer faked up the middle, then screened outside to Brown, who ripped into the end zone from 27 yards out. Then even wild Bill Kilmer found his long-lost spiral as he connected with a pretty 32-yard toss to Roy Jefferson, number 80. A season's worth of frustration found its way to the surface against the crippled Eagle defense, and suddenly Washington could do no wrong. Kilmer lured in the rush, then dumped. Lynn Hoss and John Wilbur threw crushing blocks, and number 43 recaptured the raucous, robust style that made him MVP in 1972. For the day, Brown gained 150 yards rushing and 105 pass receiving. But Gabriel would not concede as he continued to put on the pressure. This time, big, mean Hoagie Carmichael terrorized tiny cornerback Pat Fisher, number 37. Carmichael's catch and carry set up another Philadelphia TD and closed a year of outstanding personal achievement for the Eagles. Awesome number 17 wound up as the league's leading receiver, Roman Gabriel as the top passer. But the Redskins captured the prize that mattered most, the right to go on. On this sugar-frosted Sunday, the Redskins vindicated themselves with 432 yards of total offense. Larry Brown went in untouched for a soul-satisfying 38-20 victory and a place in the NFC playoffs.
The Cowboys needed a victory over the St. Louis Cardinals to lock up the NFC's Eastern Championship for the 7th time in 8 seasons. In their last 10 quarters, the Doomsday defense had allowed but a single touchdown. And against a spoiler team like St. Louis, they proved the dominant force. The Cardinals employed a double tight end offense for the 2nd straight week, but Dallas linebackers like 55 Leroy Jordan shut down the run. Watch number 52 Dave Edwards fill on the sweep, beat down the blocker, and tackle Jim Otis hard. While Doomsday throttled Cardinal runners, the Big Red defense tried to separate Roger Staubach from his senses. A quarterback like Staubach is fair game in the open field, and the hard pursuing Cardinals hit him hard, often, and sometimes late. However, once Rogers' protection improved, he stayed at home and threw strikes. On the day, Staubach was 14 for 19 for 252 yards. His most dependable receiver was rookie Drew Pearson, number 88, whose 5 receptions netted him 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. A second look at Pearson's score reveals that Dallas sent both receivers to the left. With that zone flooded, Pearson easily beat single coverage on the right side by number 26, Dwayne Crump. The Cowboys lucked into a 20-3 lead when Staubach first bumped into blocker Calvin Hill, then threw into double coverage. When number 45, Jim Tolbert, slipped, Gene Fugit carried the ball, and Chuck Detweiler in for 6 points. Dallas drove for their final touchdown using the familiar Staubach to Pearson combination. By game's end, Dallas had amassed 450 yards in offense. Pearson had racked up his second touchdown, and the Cowboys were once again champions of the NFC East. Both clubs have had their ups and downs this season, but this time it was the Pack who was up to putting the Bears down. Number 76, Mike McCoy, led the Packer assault with 9 unassisted tackles as Green Bay shut out the Bears. Week before last, number 42, John Brockington, became the first player in NFL history to record 1,000-yard seasons in his first 3 years in the league. And last week against Chicago, the former Ohio State star exploded for 142 yards on 22 carries. This one going 53 and setting up a short Packer touchdown. Green Bay quarterback Jerry Taggy connected on only 3 passes all afternoon. However, 2 of them went for scores to number 22, John Staggers. The second Taggy to Staggers hookup covered 36 yards while giving the Packers their 5th win of the season in a 21-0 win over the NFC Central cellar dwellers, the Chicago Bears.
It was just one of those days for the Giants as Viking bungles turned to bonuses. The only New York firepower came when it was too late to matter as Randy Johnson passed to ex-Viking Bob Grimm for 33 yards and the longest offensive play of the day. One play later, Johnson and Johnson combined as quarterback Randy hit running back Ron for the only Giant points for the afternoon. The Giants' tally mattered little, as Fran Tarkenton had the Vikings in a comfortable lead during the first half, controlling the ball with the short passing game. Offensively, Minnesota chalked up a field goal and 3 short touchdowns, one by number 32, Oscar Reed. But once again, it was a great day for the Big Purple defensive unit. Bobby Bryant was credited with a blocked field goal as the Vikings kept New York in check most of the afternoon, rising to stop the Giants on 3 different occasions with 4th down in a matter of inches. Number 24, Terry Brown, personally silenced 1 4th down threat, returning an interception 63 yards for a touchdown and bringing the final score to 31-7 in favor of the Minnesota Vikings. Team achieved new heights in '73. Fran Tarkenton ran his career rushing total past 3,300 yards with a lifetime average of 6 yards a try. With Tarkenton in the backfield most of the year was the man they call the Seed, Oscar Reed, with a solid 4 yards per carry. And then there was number 44, Walter Eugene Chuck Foreman, the Vikings' first authentic breakaway back since the early years of Tommy Mason. Despite several nagging injuries, Foreman handled the ball more than 200 times for a total of almost 1,200 yards in total offense, and was consensus NFC Rookie of the Year for 1973.
Make sure you're onside. Don't let anybody offside. First man down there. We're riding a wild horse. Let's go now. I'll beat you to the tackle, Nate.
At age 35, Bill Brown was not just the oldest running back in the league, but as captain of the Vikings special teams, he was a rare blend of experience and enthusiasm. As Brown said, that retirement talk just makes me work that much harder. Bill Brown was an inspiration to the rest of the Vikings' excellent special teams, of which the more visible members were punter Mike Eichide, an expert at moving the ball around for favorable field position, and Fred Cox, who passed the 1,000-point mark and became number 4 on the NFL's all-time scoring list. The Minnesota defense returned to good health in '73 as they gave up the fewest points in the NFC and the fewest touchdowns in the entire league, an average of less than 1 a game. The defensive secondary forced its share of turnovers. The most spectacular was by Terry Brown against the New York Giants. Terry Brown is an example of the quality depth which waits behind men like free safety Paul Krause, number 22, the NFL's leading active interceptor and 3rd on the all-time list. And men like strong safety Jeff Wright, number 23, the 3rd-year man from the University of Minnesota. And left cornerback Nate Wright, number 43, the other half of the Minnesota Vikings' own particular version of the Wright brothers. At right cornerback was Bobby Bryant, 170 pounds of true grit, and the NFC's leading interceptor for the year with 7. The Viking linebackers combined youth with savvy. On the outside, there was experience in 10-year veteran Wally Hilgenberg on one side and 12-year veteran Roy Winston on the other. the middle, there was youth and a developing star in second-year man Jeff Seaman, number 50. At defensive tackle were perennial All-Pro Alan Page and strongman Gary Larson. At end were All-Pro Carl Eller and Captain Jim Marshall, the Iron Man. The fifth man was TV star Bob Lertzema. The Viking front four has been an inseparable unit since 1967, when Alan Page arrived from Notre Dame. All nicknames aside, the Viking front four is quite simply one of the best in pro football history and the foundation for one of the best defensive teams ever to play the game. In the opener, the Saints made the errors and the Falcons made the points, 62 of them. Last Sunday, it looked like history might repeat itself when Dwayne Benson smothered punter Steve O'Neill and quarterback Bob Lee twice set up Atlanta touchdowns with his passing. Leading 14-0 and with encouraging news from out of town, the Falcons appeared to be sitting pretty. But the Saints stopped making mistakes, and they also stopped the Falcons from further point making. When the Atlanta offense broke down, the New Orleans offense took over as number 12, second-year quarterback Bobby Scott from Tennessee took the Saints to a score when he scrambled until he found Bob Newland in the end zone. (14-10) was as close as the Saints could come, and the rest of the day was a battle between Dave Hampton and the 1,000-yard Barry. Hampton carried 27 times for 84 yards, but the Saints knew he was coming, and they stopped him just 3 yards short of the magic number when, after 6 consecutive carries, Hampton failed to convert a fourth down run into a first down at the New Orleans 9-yard line. For the second straight year, Hampton was less than 5 yards short of 1,000. And his team, with a 9-5 record this time, was just 1 game short of the playoffs.
The nation was tucked under a fat blanket of snow. Southern Californians enjoyed another golden day, happy in the thought that this final Sunday of the regular season was purely for the fun of it, a day for brass bands and celebration, because the beloved Los Angeles Rams, division winners in the NFC West, had absolutely nothing to lose. But the Cleveland Browns, with still a slim chance for the playoffs, kept one eye on the scoreboard and prayed that Greg Pruitt could do it one more time. And in fact, the rookie game breaker broke this punt return the first time he laid hands on the football. But as a harbinger of the way it was to be for the Browns this afternoon, Pruitt's effort was voided by a clipping penalty. Late in the first quarter, John Hadel found Bob Klein on a quick look-in. Klein collapsed Tom Darden's attempted tackle and lumbered 23 yards for the game's first touchdown, giving the Rams a 13-0 advantage. But with the quarter almost expired, Mike Phipps found running room and turned on the speed to narrow the Rams' lead to 13-7. John Hadel countered by going immediately up top, looking for lightning-fast Harold Jackson and finding him for a 34-yard gain to the Browns' 6-yard line. 3 plays later, the score was Rams 20, Browns 7, when Hadel found fast Harold carelessly attended in the end zone. Having flashed the quick-striking might of their air game, L.A. then featured their sure-footed infantry. And on this drive, Los Angeles had a single-season record for rushing attempts, breaking the old mark of 632 set in 1934 by the Detroit Lions. With less than 2 minutes remaining in the half, Tony Baker smashed across to give the Rams a comfortable 27-10 lead. The Browns had only one more moment in the California sun when Mike Phipps hooked up with Frank Pitts on his 14-yard touchdown pass, making the score Cleveland 17, Los Angeles 30. But for the rest of the second half, power defense with interceptions like this one by number 47 Charlie Stoops stifled the Browns' attack. And on a Sunday, when the playoff-bound Rams might have relaxed and taken an afternoon off, the Rams showed that winning has become a habit under new head coach Chuck Knox. For the Cleveland Browns, this 30-17 loss in Los Angeles was a disappointment, but not discouraging, for clearly next fall will dawn brightly for the youthful Browns. But finally, the Chiefs came to their senses and began to pick off the Charger prayers. Number 15, Kerry Reardon, pulled off one of 4 Chief interceptions, and middle linebacker Willie Lanier, number 63, policed up 2 Charger fumbles as the season-long string of San Diego turnovers continued, unabated through the 14th and final game. Kansas City made their California cousins pay for their sloppy approach to the game with 4 Jan Stenerud field goals and a field day by a seldom-used benchwarmer named Jeff Kinney, number 31. Kinney accounted for 56 total yards on the first Kansas City touchdown drive, then scooted home from the 5. Number 38, Wendell Hayes, capped the 33-6 trouncing with a blast from the 2. In a final, meaningless game, the Chiefs had hit their highest point total of the season, providing a little belated excitement for the sturdy diehards who had stuck to the bitter end, and just maybe 49ers against.
In his final appearance as a 49er, John Brody received the starting nod from head coach Dick Nolan. Now 38 years old, the former most valuable player was suffering from an ailing arm, which forced him to work the short routes early against the Steelers. However, Brody's arm betrayed him twice in the first half as 2 interceptions halted promising drives while giving Pittsburgh the early lead. The interception and return of 71 yards for a touchdown by number 48, John Rouser, lifted the Steelers to a 7-0 advantage. But the 49ers matched the score as Wyndon Hall blocked a punt, recovering it for the tie. After Brody removed himself from the game, San Francisco quarterbacks fell victim to the wild fury of number 68, L.C. Greenwood. Watch Greenwood combine with number 78, Dwight White, to drop Steve Spurrier as Pittsburgh all but stopped the 49er offense cold. Offensively, Terry Bradshaw hit on 8 passes for 135 yards as the Steelers moved to 3 short touchdowns and 3 Roy Girella field goals. Bradshaw's only touchdown pass came on a perfect strike of 50 yards to Frank Lewis, who beat Bruce Taylor on the post. Pittsburgh wound up winning big, 37-14 over the San Francisco 49ers.
Beginning the season, Paul Brown predicted that his Cincinnati Bengals were ready to make the big step from respectability to excellence. But all year long, the Bengals seemed to be on the verge of a mediocre season. But now, having taken 2 steps forward after each setback, Brown's Bengals needed just one more victory to recast the coach in his accustomed role of genius. And with the Houston Oilers the only remaining obstacle, the Bengals' second division title in the tough AFC Central seemed assured. But from the beginning, it was apparent that the lowly Oilers intended to make this afternoon a memorable one for Paul Brown and the Bengals. The Houston defense turned truculent and stopped both Boobie Clark and Essex Johnson short of their 1,000-yard seasons. And by the end of the first quarter, the Bengals could manage only a 3-0 advantage on an 11-yard field goal by Horace Smallman, set up by this Houston fumble, which was eventually controlled by Cincinnati's Jim LeClaire. Late in the quarter, ex-Bengal running back Fred Willis, number 44, turned on the Houston attack with his 25-yard rush. And beginning the second period, Willis covered his own fumble in the Bengals' end zone, and the score read Houston 7, Cincinnati 3. But the newest ingredient in the Bengals' offensive arsenal, the bomb to Isaac Curtis, quickly put Cincinnati back on top 10-7. It has, in fact, been the bomb to the long-striding rookie Isaac Curtis, which has carried Cincinnati through the final weeks of the season to the doorstep of the playoffs. And remembering the Otto Graham era, it is not surprising that the conservative Paul Brown has found the big play in time to spark the Cincinnati attack. Beginning the second half, Ken Anderson found his tight end Bob Trumpy for this 10-yard touchdown, making the score 20-10. And the Bengals appeared to have quelled the Oilers' hopes for the upset. And this spectacular by Isaac Curtis appeared to be just icing on the cake, wrapping up AFC Rookie of the Year laurels for Curtis as well as AFC Central honors for the Bengals. But at the top of the last quarter, Dante Pastorini threw the Oilers' offense into high gear. Sparked by the determined runs of Fred Willis and number 18 Paul Robinson, another ex-Cincinnati ball carrier, the Oilers drove for 2 touchdowns, making the score Cincinnati 27, Houston 24. But the Oilers' rally only served to make the game interesting as Cincinnati held on to their 27-24 advantage, making Paul Brown's preseason prediction come true.
It was the kind of day that you stick your hands into an opponent's face mask to keep them warm. It was a day of soft landings on the snowy down, but also a day of frozen fingers and fumbles. For the Baltimore Colts, often the safest play was an old-fashioned quarterback keeper by Marty Domrese. Baltimore gained a 9-0 lead on a field goal and a Domrese touchdown pass to Cotton Spirer. Often the well-conceived plans of Jim Plunkett and the Patriots fell astride too long. But the resourceful Plunkett hung in there, and Randy Vataha stem-Christied in for a touchdown. Trailing 9-7, New England took the lead on Plunkett's zone-splitting pass to snowflake-sized Mac Heron, number 42, a 5-foot 5-inch running back. In the final period, Baltimore marched to the decisive score on the legs of Lydell Mitchell.